people always say think outside of the box, right? I didn't know what was in the box. But it's so few and far between that the people are actually ballsy enough to leave their 9 to 5, leave their steady paycheck, take everything they have, get loans, and know that they're gonna have to work, instead of working 40 hours a week, they're gonna have to work 80 hours a week to make this work. But yeah, anyway, I digress. ADHD bunny trail. I didn't, actually, hold on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here we go.
I can't believe I'm about to see this on camera.
I never noticed stuff until
it's
women pointed. Yeah, I tell my wife that all the time. I'll be like, "Don't tell me, and I won't notice it."
I won't know.
And then you can't win because if you don't notice little stuff, I arched my eyebrows today. You don't notice that.
That's stuff you gotta notice. The stuff we're trying to hide. If you notice it, don't tell us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I didn't know I was gonna be getting relationship tips today, but I appreciate you.
I gotta make sure my wife is taken care of.
Yeah, okay, I appreciate that. Yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and get it started. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Level Up Conversation Podcast. I am your host, Jeremy Cornelius, and today I have one of Tulsa's best content creators. And when I say that, as a content creator myself, it means something. So most people know her, but I'm gonna let her introduce herself because she knows more about herself than I do.
I know me better than you know me.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So I have in studio Jillian Marina. What's up?
Yeah. The buttons. Where's Kenneth?
Right.
Hello, I'm glad to be here.
Yes. So if this is the Level Up Conversation Podcast. So if you want to introduce yourself to the guests.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jillian Marina. I have been doing local marketing for the last 13 years, primarily in Tulsa because this is where I live and this is what I love. And my passion surrounds, growing small business here. And it's been fun over the last 13 years to, not only watch Tulsa grow, but to be part of what's growing it, that kind of thing. So that's what I love to do. And so it's what I continue to do.
That's awesome. Yeah, and Tulsa is growing very, very rapidly. And
here's the funny thing. When I moved here from New York, my best friend and I got a apartment in this building called the Boydell, which apparently now it's like luxury apartments, right?
Wow, yeah.
But at the time it had been condemned since the 70s. And this is in 2005, somebody had bought it and gotten it just good enough for people to move in.
Yeah.
And I was moving here from New York, so I was used to stuff being dingy and dirty and everything else, right? And I was just like, okay, this feels just like at home, but it's in North Tulsa.
Yeah.
And at the time, the houses out there hadn't started being rebuilt, everything was dilapidated. And we literally ended up filling up the entire building. There was 4 apartments on each floor. Yeah. And we ended up and there was 3 floors, I think. We ended up filling this entire building with our friends.
What?
And would do things we pulled a grill up onto the roof with a rope so that we could have barbecues up there. And we sat up there drinking and barbecuing and watching the BOK Center being built. So that can give you an idea of when that was and how much has come up around here since I moved.
Yeah.
So it's been so fun to watch.
2005 was wild times here in Tulsa, man.
Yeah.
So tell us, I don't know if you can or not, but tell us some of the clients that you're working with here in Tulsa.
Sure. So Solid Roofing, Joey would be very mad if he wasn't the first one that I said. And by very mad, I mean, I've never seen that man without a smile on his face. But Solid Roofing, I've been doing for a couple years. I started doing them with the new business because I owned my first digital marketing agency for a decade.
Okay.
I have, A Best Air and Heat has been my client for 13 years, which is pretty unheard of when it comes to social media. It's unheard of for it to be 2 years or 3 years, but I literally call the owner mom. So, very much since with my, that I do things a little bit different. It's, I do social media, that's my specialty, but I do it very relationship based, with the mindset of, everybody has people on social media that you don't know those people, but when you post, they comment. When they post, you comment. You see it as my friend such and such, even though you don't know them, right?
Right.
So the way that I do things for my clients is very relational, that I'm, trying to create a relationship with the community as the brand. And, because of that, it helps them, people find them, know them, like them, trust them, think of them when they have something like that. Because if you're an HVAC or a plumber or whatever, nobody wants to call you.
Right,
if they're calling you, they're standing in a flood, right? So you want to be the first name that comes to mind. And the easiest way to do that is to create a friendship, a relationship with the community as the brand. So, but because of that, and because of how relational everything I do is, like, there's a number of my clients that, I call on a daily basis, say, hey, what are you doing? Okay, we're putting business hat on. We're putting friend hat on, okay, the day's done. I know we just yelled at each other, but do you want to go get a beer? That kind of thing.
Right,
so I think that's why I have a lot of retention with mine, but yeah, so, Solid definitely is my favorite one to do. They let me kind of do whatever I want. A few months ago, I texted Joey, the owner, and I said, hey, I need you to do me a favor. And he goes, what? And I said, I need you to send me a picture of you holding out your phone like this and, just holding it out at the camera. Doesn't matter what's on it because I'm going to put something on there. And he goes, okay. And so he sends it to me and I said, do you want me to show you what I'm doing? And he was like, you know what? No, because I might tell you not to do it.
Right.
And you probably should just do it. So, just go ahead and surprise me. He didn't know I created a Tinder profile for a roofing company. So it said hot shingles on top. And, we... So, yeah, he's kind of learned just, don't micromanage me and it'll go all over the place, right?
Yeah. This is Jillian, y'all. This is what she does, This is why people hire her, you know what I'm saying?
Functioning train wreck, but I get my stuff done, right?
That's right. Something interesting, yesterday was my wife's birthday, Happy birthday, wifey.
Love you.
Yeah, we love you, wifey. But she doesn't really, she's not really fond of a lot of people. Right. And she feels energy from a lot of people. And you were one of the people that she brought up. She said she never felt any bad energy from you.
I loved her immediately. She walked in and we said 2 words to each other. I think it was about Hanson, actually. She walked in, we said 2 words to each other. And I looked at her, I said, we're going to be friends, aren't we? She goes, yep.
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier, how you have the relationship with business owners. Can you kind of explain to people like how important it is to build that relationship and have that likability, like when you're networking with people?
I mean, here's the thing. When it comes to clients, and people in general, like everybody has had the situation where they work with companies that you can tell that the companies are just about the money. They don't really care about you as a human. They care about, did the check clear, right?
Yeah.
How much are you paying me per month and all that kind of stuff. And to a point, that's important, because, we're not doing this out of the goodness of our hearts. I mean, we are, but also we got to take care of our kids, right?
Course.
We got to eat.
Yeah.
But there's a really big difference between having a client that it's just about the money and having a client that they know you care about them as humans, right?
Right.
And especially in like work, well, actually in a lot of industries, but in work like we do, in marketing, the fact of the matter is that we always, we run into those people that, I don't know if you do, I don't take them on as clients if I know that they're going to micromanage me entirely.
Ooh, yeah,
because they are, they're plumbers, they're this, they're that, I'm the marketer, right? If you're going to hire me to do it, I'm not a trained monkey, right?
Yeah.
If you want me to do it exactly your way, then you do it, or get your receptionist to do it. Yeah. But if you're hiring me for my, for my knowledge, then you let me do it, right? And the thing is that, back to your point, with the relationships and stuff like that, when they feel like, it's not just about the money and you really do care about them, then they're a lot more likely to let go of the reins and let you do what you do, that kind of thing, because they're going to know that you have their best interest at heart, right? And I think that's really important. And I think, again, that's why I have, so many situations of, clients that have been clients for far longer than especially social media clients usually stay on, is because of the relationship and the way that is.
Yeah. And it's very important because I listen to like a lot of entrepreneurship videos and stuff like that. And they go out of their way to like do little small things for clients. You know, I was talking to Philip. I got to get him on too, but you know, he does all these things for his clients to show that he appreciates them, and I think that's very, very important.
Well, for sure, but like someone like Philip, when he does the little nice things, it comes across as genuine because he treats them genuinely, right?
Right.
But if you don't treat them genuinely and you just do things, then it's, oh, okay, this guy's trying to upsell me, right? So no matter what you do, the underlying, I mean, at the end of the day, people can tell if you care.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So no matter what somebody does or does not do or whatever, if they can tell that you care, they're going to give you the benefit of the doubt that your intentions were good, right? As long as somebody always knows you have good intentions, then things aren't going to come across spammy and gross and all that kind of stuff, right?
Of course.
So, you know, Philip, it really works for him because he's an intentional person and because he's a genuinely good person. If he wasn't, it would just be like, oh, he's trying to buy my affection, right? It's the same reason I have trouble dating guys that have money, because I was raised with money and I was kind of controlled by money. And so I've, you know, it kind of sucks. I'd really like to want to date people who can take care of themselves, but, you know, but I've always had an issue with it because I don't know what's genuine and what isn't. Right. So it's just the intentionality behind everything.
That's right. Yeah. So how does someone work with big clients? Like A-Best is, y'all might be hearing this if you're watching from another state. A-Best, you can't go anywhere without seeing them being promoted somewhere. You know, how do you get someone that's starting an agency or they're small and they want to level up in their business? How do you find the decision maker in these businesses? You know, how do you do that?
That's actually two different ways, which I'm going to give you, and both of them are equally unhinged.
Okay.
So A-Best is actually, you know, that's a weird one because they were actually a client when I bought my first company. So they had already been a client for, you know, 3 or 4 years when I bought it. So I never had to go after them. But I will say, like, so for instance, one of my clients was Billy Sims. Right. Wow. And Billy Sims, that was with my first company, and I had to beat out every single marketing agency in a 7-state radius to get that client. Right.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is that, you know, to be honest, I was probably the least qualified of it. Right. I really was, because, you know, I had fallen into marketing. I really did. I did not go to school for it. I literally had a following on social media, and you know, when somebody said, you know, does anybody want a job in social media? And I said, you know, that would be fun. He was like, you know, get here. And I interviewed with my boss, and you know, couldn't believe I got the job, you know, because I had never logged into a business Facebook in my life. So I got the job, and I'm like, okay, now I got to figure out how to do my job. Right. And then 3 months later, he decided he wanted to sell the company, and I was the only one that could get the capital. So the morning that I bought my first company, I had no idea I was buying a company that day. It was just a matter of I could get it. Everybody else's fell through. I basically said, you know, all the ideas that y'all are having, you know, about this, you know, if I buy the company today, will you guys stay and do the things you said you'd do if you bought the company? And they said, yeah. And so I bought the company that day. We found an office right after I signed. We moved over the weekend, you know, and we were back open for business in a new office with me as the new owner by Monday, right? And then I was like, okay, what did I just do? I just have a little bit of a hero complex, which is probably why I'm in this industry in the first place. But, you know, then I'm like, you know, okay, I really got to figure this out, right? So realistically, I was really honestly underqualified. And I did a fake it till you make it kind of thing. I never let up. You know, I started winning awards left and right and things like that. And I had the worst case of imposter syndrome you will ever hear, because I'm sitting here thinking, like, you know, I'm getting all of this praise and all this credit for all these things. And which made it so that I didn't have to chase clients, because they would come to me. The decision makers would come to me. And I was just like, God, if y'all knew how much of a train wreck I really am, you know, I'm doing this. But then I realized at some point that it was actually my strength. Because people always say think outside of the box, right? I didn't know what was in the box. I had no choice but to think outside of the box, right? And it ended up working really well because I knew people, right? And so, so basically like things like Billy Sims, they were one of the only ones that I actually did have to go, oh, okay, this one is looking, I want to put myself in for that one, right? And ended up getting it. And to be honest, I really think, and there's some people on my social media that were, working for them at the time. I honestly think that it was because, they could tell that I cared. They could tell that I was having, ideas past what they had come up with, that I wanted to go outside of the box. And I said things differently than everybody else's pitch that was putting it in, like they could tell I really cared. That being said, my first business, I lost it at COVID because 90% of my clientele was small business.
Yeah.
And, I actually, when I lost it, I ended up, I don't know if you know this, I put out a fake resume. And I applied at every marketing agency in the area because I wanted to know, well, I was butthurt and I wanted to know why I wasn't surviving and they were, right?
Yeah, right.
Which the answer was because 90% of my clientele was small business, because that's what I had chosen, right? Like I had Billy Sims and I had Griffin Foods, like Griffin Syrup. They were my client at the time, right? And I had won Business Owner of the Year for Oklahoma the year before. Like it made no sense. I was shutting down, but when you put into account the 90% small business, it does.
Yeah.
But so I wanted to know why they were surviving and I wasn't. And I wanted to know, basically, because I had all of these clients that, I wanted to make sure they were taken care of because they, some of them had been with me for a decade, right?
Yeah.
And so I also wanted to know what businesses were, which ones were not just about the money, which ones actually cared. If I was in there interviewing, which ones were going to tell me to do something unethical, right? That they wouldn't know that I know it's unethical, but I did, right?
Yeah.
That's actually how I met my best friend, Danny, who owns Myers Marketing, because she was one of the good ones. So
yeah, she's awesome. Yeah.
But so, so getting the big ones, that's great, right? It's great for clout.
Yeah. Yeah.
But here's the thing, they don't need you. They don't need you. And I have some daddy issues.
Yeah.
I like to be needed, right? And so I really like working with the small businesses that, they don't know what they would have done without you, right? I say all the time that, my favorite thing about what we do is that in everybody's life, you have a certain amount of risk, right? Where am I going to live? Where am I going to go to school? How many kids am I going to have? What am I going to do? All these kinds of things, right?
Yeah.
And in everybody's life, you have a situation where you're like, you know what? I'm really good at this. I should start a business. Or you're like, this is a great idea. I should invent this, right?
Right.
But it's so few and far between that the people are actually ballsy enough to leave their 9-to-5, leave their steady paycheck, take everything they have, get loans, and know that they're going to have to work, instead of working 40 hours a week, they're going to have to work 80 hours a week to make this work, but they're going to be able, they're willing to bet on themselves that if they do that for a couple of years, that they're going to build something that's going to be able to take care of them and their families and, and last, right? Those limited amount of people, right? Because if you look at, the population as a whole, entrepreneurs make up such a little amount, right?
That's right.
That little amount of people, when they jump off that cliff, we get to be the parachute. We get to be the ones that make sure it works.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and I love that I have the 13 years of experience because I've seen businesses fail. I've seen them succeed. I've seen them try something that works. I've seen them try something that doesn't. And so I can bring all of that knowledge to my clients, so that, because, smart people learn from their own mistakes. Geniuses learn from somebody else's mistake.
I just said this last week. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is it as simple as just how do you meet these people? How do you meet the owners and stuff like that? Do you just, like you said, you one of them you brought, they were already in the company or whatever. Yeah. So how do you meet the other ones?
I'll be honest. I haven't had a cold call since year 2. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I already had a following on social media, when I took the job at Qantas, that was the name of the company. When I took the job there, it was well known. And then when I bought the company, it was well known, especially because I was a 26-year-old woman, who had no background in marketing whatsoever. I didn't tell them that part, right? But to be honest, because I already had that following on social media, I didn't actually, hold on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here we go. Here we
I
go.
can't believe I'm about to say this on camera. Okay. So my first week open, well, the first week that I owned my first company, I had no idea how to get clients. I didn't, right? I had to lean on what I knew, right? Which I grew up in the music industry and I'm a chick, so I had to lean on what I had at my disposal, okay?
Yeah. I feel you.
Cannot believe I'm about to say this on here. So
Yeah.
I would go on Tinder between only Monday through Friday, between 9 and 5. I was not there to date. I would only swipe right on business owners.
Okay.
I would not message them first because I needed the conversation to go this way. We'd swipe. They'd say, hey. I'd say, hi. They'd say, how are you? I'd say, good, you?
Yeah.
They'd say, I'm doing well. And I'd say, what are you doing? Knowing that they're working because they're business owners between 9 to 5 on a Monday through Friday, right?
Right.
And they'd say, just working, you? And I'd say, same. What do you do?
Right.
And they'd say, oh, I own yada, yada, yada. And I'd say, and they'd go, what do you do? And I'd say, oh, I own a marketing agency that actually does blah, blah, blah for businesses like yours. And they go, oh, I need somebody like that. And I go, oh, well, you should come to see me.
Wow.
They'd come in, I'd do my pitch, they'd sign, and then I'd tell them I don't date clients. That's how it went.
There you go.
So to be honest, that's how I survived my first year, because when I bought my company, again, I didn't run numbers. I was dumb. I didn't run numbers. I didn't do anything like that. And I didn't know we were $37,000 a month upside down.
Yeah.
So I had to figure something out, right?
Yeah, right.
But yeah, so that's how I did it.
I mean, it's smart. Like before we started this podcast, I was, like you have a beautiful mind. Like you think next level, and your creativity is unmatched. And say what you want to about Donald Trump, but this is actually in the book, The Art of the Deal. Women, like he uses some women's beauty for his leverage. You know what I'm saying? And so say what you want to, man.
I mean,
but
at the time, this was 13 years ago, y'all. I was not in my 40s.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? Let me start the conversation here, because at the time I was doing like brand ambassador work, Pepsi and Coke would hire me to go work at the, Ford would go hire me to work at the fair and just basically be there so that people would come up and talk to me and they could try to sell them something, right? When I knew nothing, because I fell into this, it was like, all right, well, I got to put myself somewhere that people want to come talk to me, and then I can convert that to a sale, right?
Yeah.
So the funny thing is that, if it would be really messed up if I didn't deliver on, what it was. But I'm actually really wondering, because a couple of my clients are the ones that I found that way 13 years later. And I'm sitting here going, oh God, did I ever tell them that that's actually what I was doing?
Yeah. So I've always been like one of the people that's like drawing and stuff when I was little, and just coming up with all kinds of different things. Like, how are you, like, where did your creativity come from? And like, where do you think it started?
So do you remember, I told this on the podcast with Cash Matthews, but it's probably one of my favorite things. Okay.
Yeah.
Probably the first time that I realized I had an entrepreneurial mindset. I mean, I got it naturally from my dad, because before my dad was a music manager, he actually owned a computer company called Jillian Distribution Incorporated, which meant I thought I could go in there and fire people if they didn't give me their candy bars and such, right?
Yeah.
I'm a nicer boss now, I think. Yeah. But so season 1 of American Idol. Okay.
Yeah.
Episode 1, season 1. So it was the auditions, right?
Yeah.
I was sitting at the edge of my bed. Remember this clear as day. Okay. I was sitting at the edge of my bed with a yellow pad of paper and a pen, and I'm watching the auditions. And as each person came on, if they did well, I wrote down their name. I wrote down where they were from. I ran and I called 411 information at the time, because this was 2002.
Yeah.
Went and called 411, got their phone number, and then I went and bought their domain, whatever, www.theirname.com. I was 17 years old, right?
Yeah.
And so I bought the name so that I had the name, the address, the phone number, and the domain, so that if they did well, I could call and sell it to them, right? So I mean, I think that's where I first saw that, I didn't get Kelly Clarkson. I did get Justin Guarini, Sideshow Bob, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Here's where the problem was, right? I had the entrepreneurial mindset, but much probably like still, I was too nice, right? So I ended up getting excited and calling the phone number early, and Justin Guarini's mom picked up.
What?
And we ended up spending every episode for the whole season, we would do it on the phone. Like, she'd have her family there watching her son, but she'd have me on the phone. I don't even know if speakerphone like really existed at the time and stuff, or she was just walking around with her giant, handheld, whatever. Yeah. And so, we spent the entire season with us going, oh my God, did you see that? Yada, yada, yada. And I ended up giving her the domain because that's who I am as a human. And I'm really trying to stop that. But so good idea, bad execution.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so my dad, he was an entrepreneur too. He owned the cleaners right down the street from here. And what do you think? Like, do you think that like someone like us that are like born into someone that are entrepreneurs, do you think that makes a better entrepreneur, or do you think that somebody that's never been in entrepreneurship can just start being an entrepreneur?
You know what? I think that's two different questions because, like my dad, I didn't really pay attention to him as an entrepreneur. And to be honest, if I had, I probably wouldn't have had the bug for it if it wasn't God-given, because the fact is that, if I look back on it, when he was an entrepreneur is when he was the most stressed, right? And I'm sure that my kids will say the same thing, is that, when they look back on it, that they don't want to be entrepreneurs because mom is stressed out all the time, right? And I try really hard to hold that away from them. But sometimes it's just going to, because as an entrepreneur, especially when you have clients and staff and all this kind of stuff, you're responsible for a lot of people, right? You're like, I make one wrong move, and how many people can't feed their children, right? It's a lot of pressure, right? Yeah. But at the same time, they were also able to see their mother, who's a high school dropout and never went to college, and all this kind of stuff, accomplish the things that I have. So who knows how that'll actually, play out. That being said, the fact of the matter is that I think mostly I'm an entrepreneur for the pure fact that I really didn't do well working for other people. I really didn't. I get in trouble a lot because I was, I'm somebody that I see something that needs to be done and I just do it. I don't care if I have permission to. I don't care, these kinds of things. And I would step on a lot of toes, and it happened that way, right? And so, to be honest, working for other people was honestly a lot more stressful for me because I would get in trouble so much, when I was between, my first company and my second company, to be honest, I wanted no responsibility at all, right? I went and worked at Tape Boys and sold oil changes for a year and a half just because I wanted to go somewhere, make my money, and go home, right? Yeah. And the fact is that, my sales were great, right? And my boss will tell you my sales were great. We're still friends. But he would get mad at me almost every day because he would have the other salespeople, complaining to him, oh, she just does this well because she's a girl and blah, blah, blah. No, I do this well because while you're laying on the couch, I'm getting the people out of their car with an umbrella and a bottle of water. Right. I'm not selling them something. I'm actively going out to the mechanics and saying, okay, tell me everything that's wrong with this car. Tell me what, has to be, is mandatory because of a safety hazard, what needs to be done in the next 6 months, what in the next year, and what it cost if we did it all together because, parts are already removed and stuff like that. And I would come and I would explain it to them, like I cared, because I did, I wanted them to know what the most important things were. And they could tell I was trying to teach them. I wasn't trying to sell them. So inevitably they just go, just do the whole thing. Right. Yeah. And so, but of course it got, put off to, oh, she just sells like that because she's a girl and blah, blah, blah. Okay. That was a 89-year-old woman. You think she bought from me because of my tits? Right. Really? So, but yeah, anyway, I digress. ADHD bunny trail. I became an entrepreneur because it was too hard to work for other people.
Yeah, and I think it sows the seed, like watching your parents and just understanding them. Like right now, my kids, they were in the car and I was telling them like y'all are blessed because y'all have a different level of understanding now. You know, you get to see a lot more than we did growing up, you know, especially like with the internet and stuff. So I just think that it's like a different level of understanding. And just like I want y'all to pay attention to what Jillian is saying and what we're talking about. It's not like average level of thinking, you know. This is like outside of the box type level thinking. So
well, and that's a really important thing to know, because I actually was having to have this conversation with my 17-year-old the other day, because you know, whereas I look back and I think that my kids are going to think that I was so stressed out and want to get away from entrepreneurial and stuff like that, I think in some ways I've also made it look easy, because again, they know that I was a high school dropout. My last day of school was literally 9/11/01, because I saw that and I was like, bye. I lived in DC, so I was like, bye, you know. You know, my sister graduated from Harvard. My parents didn't expect me to amount to much, right? I was the black sheep, right? And so the other day, because my son is about to start his senior year at high school, and he goes, and I was like, you know, have you thought about what you want to do? Do you want to go to a trade school? Do you want to go to college? Do you want to, you know, what do you want to do? And he goes, I think I'm going to open a bakery. And I said, you don't know how to bake. And he goes, or I could be a photographer. And I said, baby, you do realize that you have to learn how to do those things, right? You have to be really good at them, because you're going up in competition with so many people who have busted their butts to be the best at what they do, right?
That's right.
And he was like, oh no, I didn't realize that. And he's like, but you didn't know what you were doing when you started. I was like, touche. And so I'm just like, you know, I actually do have to make it clear to my kids sometimes, like, this is not common. A high school dropout, didn't go to college, single mom usually doesn't accomplish what I have. The fact of the matter is that drive and ambition trump everything, right? So I was like, you can do all of these things, but it can't be a situation of I'm doing this because this will be easier, because that is not the case in any way, shape, or form. You have to be willing to literally put everything on the line every single day to make that work, right? And so yeah, I think it's both on different sides. I think my kid Jack, he's just like, I'm going to a trade school, I'm going to be an electrician. Like, you know.
And it's beautiful, you know, for both, because it like having the two sons. You got two sons, right?
Yep.
I got two sons too. Yeah, you get to see the different personalities.
Yeah, me and wifey, we were just like, oh, boy moms, of course we're gonna get along.
Right.
And the personalities are so different. It's so funny.
It is. Yeah. One of them is into anime, and then the other one, he's into like football and stuff. So it's just totally different personality. Tulsa roulette. You know, I seen your post about pivoting and stuff like that. And So you came out with something that I didn't see coming. Very innovative, you know, and I think that'll help out a lot of local small businesses. Tulsa roulette. Let's talk about that. What is Tulsa roulette?
So Tulsa roulette is my ADHD brain baby that I can never figure out what I want to do or where I want to eat. For instance, when I'm like, you know, looking to date and things like that, I'm like, I want to find a man who I do not have to figure these things out. I don't want to figure out where we're going to go eat. I am not picky.
Hello.
Put me somewhere and I will be happy, right?
Yeah.
So about 3 years ago, I had an idea that I was like, I wish there was just like, you know, they had like those wooden dices, right? That had like all the different sides on it. One side would have a steak and one side would have sushi or whatever. I was like, that's a really good idea. But what if it was like, you know, on an app and it was a wheel and, you know, you could just spin it and go where it says to go, right? And so I had mentioned this to a couple of developers, you know, over the years. And nobody really picked up on it, right? They were like, oh, that's genius. But they didn't do anything. And then my friend Nathan, he was in the process of launching his marketing agency, and I ran this, and I just mentioned this, and it was because we were talking about how I get really mad when people leave money on the table, right? And I said, I had this idea 3 years ago, and every month that goes by, I haven't done it, I get mad, right?
Yeah, I'm the same way.
And so I said it to him, and he goes, wait, nobody's done this with you yet? And I said no, and he goes, say less, I'll call you back in 20 minutes. So 20 minutes later, he calls me back, and he has a prototype built. He's like, you want to do it with me? And I was like, bet.
Yeah.
So now it's tulsaroulette.com, which it's only on web right now. The app should be done by next week. We're just waiting for the approval from the Google Store and Apple, the App Store, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so end of August, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you go to it. It's a wheel. You can choose some toggles if you want to. Like if you want to decide, if you already know what kind of food you want, or you can leave that blank if you don't. If you want to choose what kind of, how much money you want to spend, so that there's an option. So it's not showing you everything that's like, I don't know, $200 a plate.
Yeah.
There's some toggles on if you want it to be family friendly, if you need it to be gluten free, if you want it to be have a patio, whatever that looks like, right? And then it has the locations because obviously, Tulsa's kind of big. So, if I'm in Broken Arrow and I spin and I get a place in Sand Springs, I'm not going there, right?
Yeah.
So it has it so that you can toggle the different areas of Tulsa and things like that as well. You spin it and it'll send you to a local business. There's no chains on there and stuff like that. It's just, it's fun for you because you're getting to do something fun instead of the stress of figuring out where you want to go, but also it's putting local businesses in front of you that you might not have found otherwise, right?
Yeah.
And when you land on them, it'll, show you their star rating on Google. It'll give you the option of calling them, booking directions, going to the website, ordering through DoorDash if they have that available, and scheduling through OpenTable if they have that available. So we're really excited about it. I think the reason that so many people are excited about it is because it's such a easy solution to a problem that everyone has, right? Jeremiah Callahan was like, you might put me out of business because a lot of the fights that, I deal with, because he owns an anger management practice, because a lot of the fights that I deal with start with that, So once the restaurant side is done, then we're actually expanding it out to things to do in Tulsa, right?
Okay.
So then we'll be able to bring in, other things and make it so that, you can toggle if you want it family friendly, if you want nightlife, if you want, all these kinds of things.
Yeah.
And then once we're done with that, we are expanding out to other cities, and we already have patents and trademarks ready for it.
Dang, that's awesome. Yeah. And it sounds like it could potentially be a subscription-based service,
It is. Mm-hmm.
Oh, it is already?
So for the businesses, it's going to be totally free for someone to use.
Yeah.
But the businesses will be being paid to be listed on there, right? And so there's different levels based on if they just want one slice of the wheel, if they want multiple slices of the wheel, if they want to be able to put coupons on their slice so that if somebody lands on there, they're more, likely to have people show up there. And also because of the toggles, we can make it to where there's a toggle. So, if somebody only wants to see the ones that have coupons attached to it and things like that, which means those people get their own reel, being highlighted on social media, like I said, it's free to use, but we're collecting information, so we'll be sending out newsletters and we can spotlight some of those people and that kind of thing. So it'll definitely be a subscription based.
Okay. I'm talking about for the customers, they put let's say $100 in, and this is my monthly. It's how much I want to spend on entertainment.
It's free for them. I want it to be free for them because I want them to have fun doing it.
Okay.
The businesses will be paid on there, and it'll be 100% write-off because it's marketing, right?
For sure, yeah.
The businesses pay to be on there, but everyone will always be able to use it for free.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So end of August, y'all, y'all can get on there.
Well, the website's up now, but end of August, the app should be ready as well.
Okay. Yeah. I got on it the other day just to see what it looks
fun,
like.
Right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's not too painful. It's what I like about it is simple. It's not all of these words and you don't have to read too much. It's just plain and simple.
Get on there, want, spin the wheel.
Spin the wheel.
Don't like it, spin it again.
Yeah. If you ever, are going to a restaurant, I've been in these situations before, you don't know what she wants to eat, he or she, whatever. When, just get on there, spin the wheel, and it'll take you to wherever y'all gonna go.
Well, and then on top of that, then you don't even have to admit that you didn't know what she wanted to eat because it just looked like you were doing a fun date night thing with her, right?
Yeah.
It looks like you're putting a little something extra.
Right.
And you're like, I don't have to figure this out.
Right. I already got it planned out. Don't worry about it. This is where we're going. This is what we're doing, And
basically this is just making it so that I don't have to date because I don't have to hope somebody's going to swoop in and know what to do, and I'm not going to have to make decisions anymore. Literally, this came from me not wanting to make decisions anymore. So
Jillian is out here saving lives, y'all. Yes. So, what else do you have coming up before we get out of here? Anything else exciting going on in your world?
Oh God, you mean besides running one business, starting another business, momming my children.
Yeah.
Well, I just got back from Vegas. I don't know if you saw that.
I seen that solo trip, right?
It was, and it was crazy because we went out there to see the Backstreet Boys, right? And last year I went with one of my best friends, Matt, and our best friend Kendra, and a couple other people. And
R.I.P. Matt.
Huh? Did you know Matt?
No, I did. I follow him because of the music. You know, he was blowing up
Young
around
version.
time.
Yeah, he was great. I met him because 11 years ago he needed a girl for his music video, and that's back when I was modeling. And out of the 25 profile that people sent him to say pick one, my picture where I was going, and he goes, that one, we're gonna be friends.
Wow.
And
okay.
so we've been friends ever since, right?
Yeah.
I was in his video trying to walk like a baby deer in high heels, and we've been friends ever since.
Wow.
So last year, you're like, I'm totally going to watch that video. So last year we went and we had a great time, and I don't know if you know this, I grew up with Aaron Carter, right? And he died a few years ago.
I think you told me.
Yeah. And so obviously we were out there to see the Backstreet Boys, and to be honest, it didn't really occur to me that was going to affect me. Seeing Nick, because I really never saw Aaron as Nick's brother. Aaron was my friend Aaron, right? It was just, I knew that he was Nick's brother, but it wasn't something I ever really focused on, right?
Yeah.
And so when we were out there and, we were on the floor, so we were 10 feet away from Nick, and he walks out, and it hit me like a brick, and I really did not expect it to. And, I felt my chest tighten up, and I felt all of this, and I wanted to start crying, but I was on the floor at the Sphere, and I was surrounded by 6 of my friends who we had all flown into Vegas, and there was no way I was ruining this for them by having a freaking panic attack in the middle of the floor, right?
Right.
And so I shoved it down. I got through it. That was great, right? But once I came home, I kept thinking about the fact, like, I really thought I had healed from that, right? Aaron, by the time he died, he had so many drug issues that, to be honest, it was shocking he made it as long as he did. We had mourned him a long time ago, right?
Yeah.
And so, I couldn't stop thinking about it. So back in February, I booked a trip to go by myself. And, I instead of being on the floor, because the Sphere is just incredible, but when you're on the floor, you definitely still see everything going on above, but you mostly see the stage, right?
Yeah,
so
right.
I booked to be in the very middle of the very highest section because I wanted to see everything that the Sphere, was. And you know what? I was going to be by myself. So if I needed to, if I want to dance and sing, I will. If I need to cry, I will, right? I'm somebody who I shove that stuff down. I was like, I'm going there, allowing myself to shove this down, right?
You're facing your fears, right?
Absolutely.
Okay,
and so, and even, I'm somebody who had never even gone and eaten at a restaurant or gone to a movie by myself, right? So flying to Vegas by myself and being there for 3 days and going to a show surrounded by 20,000 people, like, it was a big deal. And, the weird thing is, I'll say, I cried a couple times. I danced and sang my butt off most of it, right?
Yeah.
The thing that made it extra hard was that, like I said, this was back in February that I booked this. Well, 3 weeks before the trip, Matt died out of nowhere. Thought he had a stomach ache, and it ended up being pancreatitis, and he went septic, and he died.
Golly.
And so now on top of, I was going out there, to basically grieve Aaron and, clear out some things that I thought were already cleared out. Now on top of that, I had Matt. And, I'll fully admit that when I was there last week, I thought about Aaron a couple times, but I felt Matt there so much, so much. I felt him, in dancing. I kept looking at the spot on the floor that we had been at. I went and I stood in this line for 45 minutes to get a t-shirt because last year he had spent $55 on this t-shirt, and he's like, I got to wear this shirt every day for the rest of my life, even if it's under my clothes, just to justify the fact that I just spent $55 on a t-shirt, right?
Yeah.
Well, he left that t-shirt in the hotel the next morning and was livid. Like, everyone who knows him knows about that t-shirt, right? And so when I booked the trip in February, I was 100% going to go get him a t-shirt and surprise him with it when I got back.
Yeah.
But then he died. And so I waited in that line because I was going to get the t-shirt to take it to the cemetery, right?
Yeah.
And as I get to the front of the line, 45 minutes later, I'm standing there and I'm looking at this $55 t-shirt, and I was like, hold on. he would kick my butt
Yeah.
if he knew that now I was about to spend another $55 on the same t-shirt to leave it outside.
Yeah.
Right? So I was like, you know what, Matt? I'm going to honor you by not buying this t-shirt because I know you.
Yeah,
You know, that kind of thing. So,
yeah.
But yeah, all in all, it was a really healing experience. I love knowing now that I can do the traveling and things like that by myself.
Mm-hmm.
I can roll with the punches. I can jump in the cabs. I can do all of that, right?
Yeah.
I love knowing that. I don't think I like doing it because I think part of why I love traveling and I love shows and I love all that kind of stuff so much is because of, you know, being able to experience it with someone else. So
Right.
Can I do it? Yes. Will I do it? Probably not again unless I have to.
Wow, yeah. Did you get in the Uber, the self-driving Uber and stuff like that?
I did not. I found out while I was at the show that one of my clients, A Best Air and Heat, had flown in while I was at the show because they were going to the show the next day. And so when I got out of there, I was like, you know, what hotel are you at? And they were at the Cosmopolitan. And I said, oh, okay, I can kind of see that from here, right? It was really not occurring to me how big those buildings are and that wasn't just a hop, skip, and a jump away. It was 2 miles away at midnight down the Vegas Strip at 110 degrees, okay? And so I was like, oh, I'm just going to start walking that way and I'll grab a cab when I can. I never found a cab. So not only did I not get the self-driving Uber, I didn't even get a cab and I walked 2 miles down the Vegas Strip to get to her. My feet, everything was black. The bottom of my dress was black. Like it was, I was like, you know what? I can do that by myself too.
Yeah.
Probably shouldn't, but did.
Yeah.
So.
Y'all hear that, ladies? She was walking at night in Vegas. Nothing happened, and she's here today. So
do not do as I do.
Yeah.
Just don't.
Because I be seeing online some women, they just like, oh, it's crazy out here, and you know,
it was nuts. There was
want...
actually a couple times I went and I held a girl's hand, like when it started getting creepy. I went up to strangers and I held their hands. I was like, oh, hey, how are you? Da, da, da. And they were like, huh? And creepy person would go away. I was like, thanks.
Yeah.
Which again, I moved here from New York. You know, I'm pretty used to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, you know, they say people in New York is weird and rude and stuff like that, but I don't sense those vibes from you. So you must be. You know.
To be honest, when I first moved here, I talk about that all the time. I look back at who I was when I first moved here, and I wouldn't have liked me.
Really?
I would not have liked me. And I go back and I visit New York, and you know, when I lived there was, you know, those women, like I looked up to them so much. I wanted to be just like them. They were beautiful and they were smart and they were driven and they were, you know, accomplished and everything. And I wanted to be just like them. And now I go back and I visit, you know, they have these great houses and everything else. I go back and I visit and I see these women and I mean, no offense to y'all, but it makes me sad because so many, like they look so tired. And I don't know what's making me recognize that now that I didn't recognize it then, or if they're more tired now than they were back then, or what it is. But I go there and so many that I mean, they're still the beautiful ones, obviously, right? They're still the ones that look happy, but there were so many that looked so haggard, you know? And I was just like, I don't care how much money I have if I have to look like that, right?
Yeah.
And when I moved here, I was so materialistic. You know, I had my Juicy Couture track suits and that's all I wore and all this kind of stuff. And now, like, I mean, I'm honestly not materialistic at all. I'm pretty sure I have 3 things on from Temu right now that I wear on a daily basis, right? So, like, I'm not the same person. But there's good and there's bad everywhere. There's going to be good, nice and not nice in every city. There's going to be nice and not nice in every religion, and nice and not nice in every, you know, political party. Like there's good and bad in everything. So anytime anybody, you know, ends up, you know, blanketing it as a whole, it's always at a disservice.
So I watched so many. My wife, she loves Sex and the City. Like when we first met, that's all we watch. How is it?
How real is that?
How real is it? Like, is it?
It's pretty real.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty real. Gossip Girl is pretty real.
Oh, wow.
Because that was my age group, right?
Yeah,
so when I was there, you know, I wasn't really around the Carrie Bradshaw, is that her name? I wasn't really around those, but I saw them, you know. But mine was more, you know, I was the age group of Gossip Girl. So all of that is pretty legitimate. Yeah.
That is wild. Yeah. That's crazy.
So because it's all about money.
Yeah.
You know, it just is. And, That's why, I'm
fashion.
glad that I'm raising my kids here because, Christmas comes around, we barely do any kind of gifts. We plan experiences. Everything is about experiences.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things my kids and I have ever done is, spring break. I want to say it was either 2020 or 2021. We used to go to the beach all the time and things like that. And we hadn't been able to because of COVID and that kind of thing. It must have been 2020, right? Because we couldn't go anywhere. Because,
2020, yeah.
And so we had, I had told them, we were going to breakfast and they had no idea that all the stuff was in the car, that I had a blow up mattress in there and I had their luggage in there, all that kind of stuff. And we got in the car and we played the left-right game for 10 hours until we decided, okay, we're sick of being in the car. Let's pull out a map and see where we are and, where we want to go to. And we ended up in, at this little, spring right outside of San Antonio, and we stayed there for the night. And then we went to, we went to San Antonio the next day, and I took them down the Riverwalk, and then we went to Galveston. And it's just experiences are everything.
That's right.
Memories are everything. And so, back then, experiences and memories only meant something to me if I got something out of it, right?
Yeah,
and
right.
now the only thing that I need out of it is the time with my kids.
Yeah.
So I'm a very different person than I was when I moved here.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. It's one of the places, you can definitely come and settle down, and then Tulsa is growing like we start off the podcast with. So, yeah, it's an exciting time to be in Tulsa,
It really
Oklahoma.
Is.
Yeah.
Well, and I was born in Houston and
okay.
moved. I was there until I was 14, and I moved right outside of D.C. in Loudoun County for high school. And then New York, and then here. I mean, the fact of the matter is I would never I would never have roots anywhere else, right? I'm fully planning on living in a camper at some point or a van so that I could be at the beach for a month if I want to, and the mountains for a month if I want to. I'm fully planning on doing that at some point, but my roots will always be in Tulsa.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Tom Green is doing right now. He's like a nomad.
I want to do it so bad. I'm like,
Yeah.
I have 2 years until my youngest graduates, and then I'm going to rent out my house, and I am going to I'm going to renovate a van or live in a camper or whatever, just because, again, my dad was in the music business. I grew up on tour. I was very used to, it didn't matter if I didn't like a place because I'd wake up somewhere else the next day anyway, right? I miss being somewhere because I want to be there, which I love Tulsa, so I am here because I want to, right?
Yeah.
But I love when you're somewhere because you want to be there, not because you have to be there, right? It's even like relationships, People sit there and be like, why don't you want to be with me, or why are you this, or why are you that? Look, if I didn't want to be with you, I would not be with you, right? I'm with you because I want to be, not because I have to be. And in everything in my life, like if I realize at some point that I'm doing something because I have to do it, then that's when I'm stopping doing it.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and you need the freedom to be yourself too, Yeah, because as you can tell, Jillian Marina.
I put my glasses on with you.
No, it's all good. It's all good. We about to. If you want to put the glasses on and take us out of here, I'll let you have the last words because I want to be mindful of your time.
Yeah, no problem. How am I taking us out?
However you want to, just share, plug what you got going,
Well, I just want to thank Jeremy for having me in here. The funny thing is, when we met, you were working. Where were you working?
It was a company called.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, and we went and we sat down, and you were telling me about your entrepreneurial dreams.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you, dude.
Thank you.
I'm so proud of you. What was that, 2 years ago?
Yeah, it was about 2 years ago. Yeah.
I'm so proud of you. You were telling me about your entrepreneurial dreams, and I was telling you, look, it is hard.
Yeah.
It is worth it.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So I'm so proud of what you've done and that you did that. You jumped off that cliff.
Thank you. It definitely was a learning experience. I'm back at it now. I had to provide for the family. I didn't have a game plan. I did not have a game plan, so it did not work out. But you're still doing your
stuff on the side.
That's right.
You're not just going and doing your 9 to 5.
Yeah.
You're mixing your passion with the thing that makes the money.
That's right.
Right?
That's right. I'm funding the
You're
business.
funding your passion.
That's right.
Well, and that's honestly the smart thing to do, because I can tell you right now, the smart thing to do is not to buy a business.
That's right.
When you didn't know you were doing that morning and didn't run the numbers.
Wow. Yeah. But as you can tell, it works out. It
does.
works out. If you put the effort into it, it'll definitely work out.
Well, and you just have such a great, mentality and how you treat people. Just like I was saying about relationships and stuff like that. Like people genuinely like to be around you.
Thank you.
Because you have a calming effect, you have a motivating effect. You have all that kind of stuff. And
Thank you.
I mean, it's great watching you do what you were drawn to do.
Thank you.
It really is.
I appreciate that.
So
Yeah.
I'm proud of you, dude.
Thank you. It's Level Up Conversation Podcast. We up out of here. I'll catch you guys in the next episode.
Bye, wifey.